All right, so I'm shooting this from the vehicle that I'm in while driving back. Not me driving back personally. 21 hours to Florida and whatnot before we venture into uncharted territories. So for whoever hears this, to whomever hears this, thank you first and foremost. And in detailing my time at ACU, I have quite a few stories to narrate, but let's start at the beginning of things, considering the fact that this is kind of a reflection and a thank you to ACU, since I could have probably written a poem, but I didn't think I could really embody everything that I was appreciative of and thankful for in mere writing, because writing is not as, well, I consider it to be ubiquitous, but sometimes I think the human voice is the greatest instrument, so I hope to use it to get through to y'all. So after reading like all these, and first and foremost, I'm going to take the time to thank each and every single person that wrote something, and if you didn't, that's okay, because I got your appreciation by word, and I appreciate that just as much, and if not more, not to invalidate what I just said. So I want to thank Kason, as per always, Sam, Heidi, Francis. They wrote me a card during a like surprise departure dinner, which is kind of funny because they just put me in a car and they said, we're going to a dinner, and we went to have dinner for my departure. Lady, Leslie, and Nevaeh, I want to thank you all. Darius, Nevaeh with an apostrophe, Josephine, and Darius especially, because he's really good at writing, but he typically undermines his ability to do so, and it's always beautiful to see him really capture his emotions fully through writing, and he did that amazingly here. I haven't stopped reading it, actually. I keep on going back to it. I'm sure that there are a lot more things that could have been said or should have been said, but I think that ultimately my, not goodbye, but my departure was kind of fulfilling. And since I've been asked quite a few times about it, when I was in Toronto and my departure was imminent, a lot of people they didn't brush it to the side, but they started separating themselves from me, whether it be mentally or subconsciously or even physically. I try to hang out with people and they wouldn't be so open to it. I guess it's not on them, because I understand that everyone is so caught up in their own world that it's hard to see outside of another person's work, out of your own world and look into another world. It's kind of like the don't take anything personally notion from the Four Agreements, which is nothing others do is because of you. What others say and do is merely a projection of their own reality and their own dreams. And then the solution is, when you're immune to opinions and actions of others, you won't be victim of needless suffering. So with me, I didn't really take it personally, but of course I was a little hurt by it, by the way that I departed. And then departure from Florida was weird because I never really got the chance to say goodbye to some of the more integral people, but I did get to forge a bond with like people like Ori, like the whole family, Samantha, like Keith, like everybody, every single person that was there and that I just had the chance to bond with. So it wasn't really a departure where I was constantly surrounded by those like I was in Toronto. It was building bonds and then kind of just leaving them, left without a sense of goodbye. And I left a lot of people in mystery because they didn't really know I was leaving either. I kind of delayed my due date of departure for a while, knowing that I didn't know myself when I was going to leave. So that wasn't really that helpful. But onto the ACU topic. It's really hard to say thank you to people who I constantly see and thank every day for their contribution to what made ACU ACU. I initially wasn't even supposed to attend Abilene Christian University, and at some point I just figured, why not give it a try? And as I was just having a conversation about, if for nothing, a big takeaway, which the analogy would be, so you're in a boat and a wave is coming to a full force, one of those tsunami-like waves, and having the faith and that stillness that rests within you to understand that, albeit that wave is getting closer and closer, it's important to have the utmost faith and understanding that even if it hits you, we must sit still and understand that relinquishing control of over our lives is sometimes the most that we can do, and it's sometimes the only thing we have control of. I was talking about how oftentimes when we seek control, we end up fumbling it, because in the pursuit of seeking it, it slips out of our grasp ever so quickly. What we seek to gain, we end up losing at the same time. So it's kind of like a paradox, but that's really ultimately what you can sum up life to. But either way, before I just talk about what Ephesians discusses in depth and a lot better than I could ever formulate, some personal thank yous. To Joanne, who I don't know if we'll ever hear this or see this or even give it the time of day, but I can't thank you enough for the message that you gave me. I gave the heat seeker example. You sought me out like a heat seeker and found me to talk to me and discuss things with me that I had yet discussed with myself, and told me to remain faithful. And I didn't enter ACU with much faith, but I leave with even more faith. And it was even more impactful, and I hate to tell this story because it's not one that I share too often, but Joanne is the name of a dear cousin of mine who I unfortunately never really got the chance to spend much time with. She unfortunately killed herself before I was born, despite her saying that me being born was something that she kind of looked forward to. I like to kind of see it. There are a lot of ways we could put it, but I didn't really get to see her. I got to learn about her through literature and through her love for reading, which I then also shared, but I wish I got to know her in other ways, but through the books that she loved. I wish I got to experience her through the love that I would have developed if I had known her as a person, but to each their own. And Joanne, my cousin, was described as this bright, exuberant soul who kind of frolicked through reality and was a testament of faith and a pillar of keeping people faithful even through hard situations, through hard times, keeping them faithful and keeping a smile on her face and showing people that there was brightness and that there was light at the end of the tunnel, which is ironic considering she saw no light and she saw merely darkness, which then led her, I guess they say hurt people, and instead of hurting people, she just decided to hurt herself, which I can't say I'll never understand, but the method in which she decided to take her own life was, in any way, it's tragic, but yeah. So Joanne from my school, it meant so much more to me hearing her discuss faith with me, because that's something my cousin would have said to anybody who was around her who was going through a hard time, to have faith, no matter how hard it is, to look in the face of that tsunami-like wave and just stand still and have that stillness and assurance and knowing that God has you. It's something she would have said to me. So it's beautiful that she shares the same name. She shared a beautiful story about her and her family and whatnot. And I won't share it, but I'd hope to have her on one day to give everyone else a chance to hear her story if she ever feels comfortable enough sharing it. If she even ever hears this, because she just frolics through reality. She's kind of like a flower. She blossoms in different places, and then you don't really see it again. But like that really nice star that you see in the Abilene sky every once in a while, then you just don't see it again for a while. But I don't know, in the week that decided my departure, I guess, because it was a little uncertain at some point, and then it became more certain, and then it was a guarantee that I was not coming back second semester. So it was a really indecent and decent moment of reflection, because I got to understand the significance and impact that I had on people's lives, but it's merely not, it was hard, because everybody who I had met here at ACU had been so abundantly full of love, abundantly cherished, an abundance of everything that I wouldn't have even expected, let alone from a Canadian who's heard funny things about Texas as a whole, coming to Abilene, Texas, a relatively unknown place, and finding all walks of life from all journeys, who all ventured and, intertwined at the summit of ACU at the right time, I guess. So in the theme of faith, I guess I should have faith that leaving is ultimately something that he has in plan for me. Although right now life feels like a ginormous tsunami wave of uncertainty about to hit me, I need to sit still and understand that he's still in control, and have faith that that is the best person to have ordaining my life, because who better? Would I rather write my script? No, I'd mess it up. Mess it up on the first day. God handed over my script and said, write it. Can't tell you it will go well. That's all I'll say. But apart from the common, we trust in people so that we can mitigate our uncertainty, I'd like to say the beauty of my life is the uncertainty. and knowing that I can find assurance in the uncertainty, not just because of God, but because it adds flavor to things. What fun is a movie when we know how it ends? And what fun is a book when we know how it ends? It's not. So I guess I kind of like to look at my life that way. Just reading a new book for the first time and it constantly evolving each day. So to each person that also spoke to me and then told me about their significance, like Ethan Perkins, and I say his full name, although we all know him as Perk, I'm grateful for him and everything that he wrote me a very beautiful paragraph, and it was very, very, very meaningful. I don't tend to open up a lot on here because I usually use this as a means to help others, but I figured what better way to say thank you, because I didn't really know how to say thank you. So I still don't really know how to say thank you apart from just saying it, and I've said it more than once, and I've said it numerous times throughout this entire thing, because I mean it with my entire heart, that I cannot thank ACU and the people there enough for being here. I don't think I've given everybody a lengthy amount of things that I can, because if I did, we'd be here longer than the storage on any telephone permits. I would need terabytes of storage to even begin thanking people for what they've done and their significance in my life. And once again, don't be bothered by the sounds of the road. It's kind of relaxing, I guess. And in a sense, I'm venturing into the past of my journey while in the present going towards a new journey. So it's a little poetic in a sense, or at least it can be made into poetry. Thank you to Natalie. I believe she wrote a note to me as well in one of the books that one of the podcasts I spoke about how we all went to the bookstore and I fawned over books. There were 3 books in particular, and my friends, they were like, oh, can you take a picture of the book so that we can maybe read them? Come to find out, I should have known. Oldest trick in the book. They got me the books, and they all wrote handmade notes in it and whatnot. To Lathy, whose penmanship is almost illegible, I thank you as well, because it's going to make it even more rewarding when I figure out what you said. But I will figure it out. I don't know how I'm going to see any of you again in the future. I don't know when I will, but I know that my heart will meet you before my physical does again. And I do hope to continue just allowing people to see that impacting lives doesn't require much, but requires something so small. Like Darius said in his last podcast, which is beautiful and you should check it out. His metamorphosis, was like him grabbing a donut and then everyone else getting up to grab a donut. It's a small act. Now, I'm not saying go grab a donut and steal, but I'm definitely saying take the small steps to make a big change, and big change doesn't take a big person. It takes any person, anywhere, anytime. And Abilene is a perfect example of that. To all the people who make small impacts every day, from the PJs of the story to the people who clean the bean, or to the people who make the food at the bean, who allow us to be nourished. Every small person matters, and they matter greatly in our lives, no matter what we may think. So it's just a matter of understanding that and saying thank you to you all, and for the experience that Abilene has been, and for the experience that Abilene has given me. So I'm not done just yet. I'll pause this and come back to the point when I've thought of some more points. And until I come back, thank you. So it's funny that I finally had the chance to kind of take a step away and come back, because who knew that this would end up being implemented into the podcast. My mom just basically sent me a message about her friend, her esthetician, who went back to Ukraine and got married to her high school sweetheart, which then ultimately resulted in, beauty and tragedy at the same time, because he had to enlist, and they're in a really interesting situation. And it was a fascinating takeaway that my mom had. It was kind of more or less, you never know what someone's going through in their own world. And in the last days of ACU, I've gotten to get a look into people's worlds that I would have never imagined had any more to it than maybe a moon or a star, but actually has an entire solar system within it. And people like Elijah, people like Donovan, people like Player, getting an idea and being able to really understand who they are, getting to understand their psyche, getting to understand the beauty within. And don't take that or misconstrue it, because it shouldn't be. But unless you're a player, that's a joke. But to be able to meet a guy named Max 2 days before his commencement and drove me to his home, and we hung out there, we played FIFA. He tarnished me in one game. I barely beat him in one, and then we played 2K and I barely won as well. So to be able to do that, and then be able to just interact with Donovan, who I've spoken to periodically throughout the year, but just get to understand him from a better light and understand him from a better perspective and understand why he is such an integral part of ACU. I understand that universities sometimes choose people and you think, oh, diversity pick or whatnot, but when you truly get to understand these people, you understand that it's really a fabric. I mean, it's really a spider web of people, and the people are the spider web that creates the tapestry that we know as ACU. And Donovan is a perfect example of that. If I hadn't gotten the chance to just speak to Donovan or understand him on a deeper level, I don't think I'd be here reflecting his heart. Like, he opened up and we spoke very avidly, and it spoke to my life as well, and it spoke into my world and what I was struggling with and what I was going through, and I couldn't be more grateful for him. And a guy like Max, who 3 days ago I hadn't even known of his world or his existence beyond maybe seeing him, because he's pretty tall, so you can't miss him, and he has a very unique regard, so you can't miss him. But understanding his person, understanding who he is, understanding his commencement, how he feels about it, how he lives, where, like, certain things that you really are grateful for, and make you understand that you don't really need that big of a time to make a big of an impact. Sometimes it takes small things. I guess the mustard seed example or parable that Jesus gave could maybe be the exemplar here, the mustard seed and moving mountains. But maybe I could cite no, I don't really know. I'm not going to cite nuclear bomb, because that's packed with just fission and fusion and a lot of stuff that creates desolation. But just think of small things that make big impacts and that ripple greatly. Like, if you've ever tried to throw water onto someone while you're in the pool and you see the ripple effect that it has, that's you who created that. A small ripple effect that ultimately changes the direction of the waves and what direction they go in. So I don't know if you know where I'm going with this, or I know where I'm going with this, but understand that small impact means a lot to somebody. And it's important that I say thank you to ACU for being that impact, not small, but a large impact in my life, teaching me faith, teaching me strength, teaching me courage, teaching me perseverance, and teaching me that people actually, like, in the last week when I was maybe struggling with money or something to some extent, knowing that I had to conserve it, y'all, like the Goofy Goobers, paid for a lot of my meals, for a lot of the fun I had. And although I try my best to kind of say I was fine and whatnot, they still did it. And even if I had eaten, they'd still do it just for the next day so that I'd be fine. Proactive, which is a skill that I lack. And there's so many thank yous to give to people like Bryce, who, although I hadn't had the chance to really have a real conversation with him, you can see who he is through the love that he has for the person that he's with right now. And Josephine, like, it's beautiful what they have and what they've allowed, what they've showed me through just observing them. And one may say third wheeling, but it's an honor. Third wheeling makes it seem like it's a bad thing, but each wheel in a car is integral to it moving. A car isn't going much where or elsewhere, or it isn't going far with friggin' two wheels. So whether you're the first, second, third, or fourth wheel, you still have an impact. Ultimately, you contribute to a greater purpose. So it's fascinating to just sit here and say thank you and reflect on the year it's been. And this probably won't be fitting to say thank you, because there's so much more to just go on about. And I'll stop myself before I go on for too long. I don't really know how to present this to y'all, because I know that if I put it up on a platform or whatnot, it may not be seen by those that... Maybe I should just have faith that those who see it were meant to see it. Maybe I could figure out a way to put this, like, 20-odd minute podcast on Instagram, which I don't think would be wise, but who knows? I'll figure out what to do with this. But if only a couple people hear this from ACU, I do want to say thank you, because you can text me personally once you hear this, and I'll talk to you as well about what it means, because not everything that I want to say will be thought of and conceived right now, but as time goes along, I'll get the chance to really enrich my thoughts, and hopefully through literature and poetry, I can really describe what ACU's meant for me, or meant to me, because right now I don't think I'm doing it justice, or maybe I am, and I just don't know. Y'all can tell me. But with that being said, I'm probably going to keep this short, because quality over quantity, and I think there's a lot to take away from 20 minutes, more than if I just sat here squabbling and yapping, as Nia Leslie likes to put it, for hours. So I guess I will talk to y'all soon, see you soon, and I appreciate you all, and I really, really want you to know that I love you all, appreciate you all, and hope that you all hear this, because the implementation of y'all into my vocabulary wasn't real until I came to Texas, so thank you for that. And to who sees this, I hope that you enjoyed. Reach out to me personally so that I can talk to and actually thank you personally. And don't hesitate, unless you hate it, but then reach out to me and tell me that you hated it, because I'd still like to talk to you about that. So yeah, love you all, have a great day, and thank you.